This is Danny Gould with the Gould team, selling Silicon Valley. Welcome to another Silicon Valley market snapshot for the first week now in October. See, last week I said it was the first week, but this is actually technically the first week in October. Fun facts for you. Of 2019, we're officially into Q4, everyone. Gearing up for the new year, but let's not forget we have 3 more months before 2020. And while we might have visions and illusions of grandeur for 2020, let's step back and let's look at what's going on in today's market and how that's going to impact you if you're looking to make a buying and or selling decision before the end of the year. Because let's face it, I mean, there's quite a few people that are making buying and selling decisions right now. So this video is for you, everyone. Let's start with the active listing heat map for this week, everyone. And look, if you've been watching these videos for any time, you'll know that I often talk about this ebb and flow, especially in South Santa Clara County. And with this ebb and flow, we often see that like the areas that are closer to high-tech companies that also have great schools, aka parts of Sunnyvale, aka Cupertino, aka parts of Mountain View, right? These are the A areas, if you will. And I'm not saying that they're like the best areas per se, because there's a lot to love about a lot of areas, but these are definitely the most sought after and usually the highest price per square foot areas as well. And so when we look at those areas, typically when there's a lot of pending activity in those areas, there's less pending activity in the areas that are further removed, but also family friendly, right? Good schools. Maybe not great schools, but good schools. So what happens is that demand tends to, there tend to be flocks of people, right? And we're seeing that in the market right now. And I think what's really, really fascinating is that we've seen it kind of shift back and forth many times over these last few months. And the volatility is, despite the fact that the market has normalized, that it has stabilized, there is still that shift, there's that ebb and that flow. And honestly, that's a sign of a very, in my opinion, here in Silicon Valley, a very healthy market, because that's what we were seeing in parts of 2016, 2017, now before the whole crazy thing that happened in beginning of 2018. There was always this constant ebb and flow. And it's nice to see that that's still there. Not surprising that it's still there, but it's good to take note. So let's look at the heat maps and keep that in mind when we're looking at this. Now, for many weeks here, we've seen, now this is active listings, right? So for many weeks, we've seen some of these areas actually in the red, meaning that the year-over-year inventory is lower. Now we're seeing some of these in the black. Campbell has consistently been in the positive in terms of active listings. Keep in mind, and this is something that a lot of people aren't talking about, this also includes a lot of new construction that's going on. Now, does it include all new construction? No, but it includes all new construction that's currently listed on the multiple listing service, right? The MLS. And so what a lot of builders are doing right now is to bring exposure to their units. They are actually putting their home on the MLS. Now, why would people not put a home on the MLS? Because builders do some shady things, and they usually don't put the home on the MLS because they want to keep the buyer side commission for themselves. So they use their own marketing and their own advertising to bring buyers in, hopefully unrepresented, without an agent on that first time, so that they can capture the buyers, sign them in, and keep that commission. Now, when they put it on the MLS, they basically are required to pay a buy-side commission. Even if the buyer comes in unrepresented at first, they can, at any point in the transaction, before they make an offer, bring an agent in. So there is that dichotomy there, and that's the reasoning why, especially when you look at areas like Milpitas for a while, that was in the positive. And when you look at areas like Campbell as well, those were now that's in the positive, and a lot of those numbers are due to the new construction that we're seeing in Campbell. Builders are not in the as favorable a position as they were before. So now they're taking that loss on the buy side commission to bring exposure to their properties, which will inevitably end up probably getting them more money, to be honest, or at least get the units sold in a timely fashion, because time is money, especially when you have that many or when you have that kind of carrying cost every single month, right? So by the way, if you didn't know that, or if you want more stuff like that, leave a comment down below. But this area, despite the higher than normal active inventory levels, when you look at Campbell, it's like, well, are you really hurting if you're a seller in Campbell? Because that additional inventory plus a lot more is being consumed or absorbed by the market. Now, if you're in areas, say like Saratoga, where it's negative 22% pendings right now, and plus 30% active inventory, there's more supply, less demand, not looking so great if you're in Saratoga. So again, this idea of being very market specific and paying attention to what's going on, not just in Santa Clara County as a whole, but in your area specifically, is equally, if not more important. Let's look at Evergreen, right? I actually just had a client call me today. They're looking at a home in Evergreen. Active inventory is up plus 17%. Pending listings down 23%. Now, is it a good time or a bad time to be buying in Evergreen? I would say that with more inventory and less demand, it's a good time to buy. Let's continue. Last place I wanted to talk about today is Central San Jose. I mean, my goodness, it's been heating up for a while now, and there's a lot of people that are, capitalizing on all sorts of nomenclature that basically makes them think that they're going to, strike it rich by buying in Central San Jose. And, of course, I've been talking about that for well over a year. But there's a lot of people right now that are putting their homes on the market because they're trying to, capitalize on the Google effect, if you will, right? But people keep on buying there. Oh, I'm so sorry. That is my bad. I was talking of it as if it were active listings. In fact, active inventory is up plus 2% year over year. Not surprising. Again, by October of last year, there was a lot of there were a lot of people that were hopping on that Google effect bandwagon. Oh, I'm going to sell my home because people are going to pay a lot of money for it, which is quite frankly true, because pending sales are up 49% in Central San Jose, which is downtown San Jose, which is absolutely incredible when you think about what that area, if you've been paying attention to this area, I mean, it has been, the inventory there has been absorbed and absorbed and absorbed, despite all the shenanigans that's gone on around it. Downtown has performed exceptionally well, and frankly, a lot of it does have to do with this whole Google effect. It really has had a major impact on the bullishness of Silicon Valley home buyers, investors, etc., of that area, and that has led to a huge surge in demand. And for a while there, a surge in supply. The reason I wasn't put off by this number is because there honestly been many weeks where this number has been in the double, if not triple digits year over year. But this week, my goodness, if you're a home seller in downtown San Jose and you're thinking about selling, like, this is the week. Not that much competition comparatively and lots more demand. Let's look at the Mid-Peninsula here now. Remember, if whatever happens in the Mid-Peninsula here in Silicon Valley eventually trickles down to the rest of the county. And so when you see these numbers, and you're a home seller, may be some inspiration for you to get a move on, because if these numbers begin to trickle down to where we are, now granted, this is a snapshot in time, this is 1 week, things can change drastically week to week, but if this trend continues, what I'm about to show you could mean that we see maybe a bit of a resurgence in the numbers that we were seeing earlier this year with more inventory than normal. Active listings pretty much all over the Mid-Peninsula at this point, up year over year. plus 31% in Palo Alto, plus 55% in Los Altos, plus 42 Los Altos Hills, plus 11% in Mountain View. When you compare that to pending listings, now pending listings, this is interesting, right? Because yes, pendings are up in every part except Palo Alto, right? So let's just focus on these three right here. Forgive the glare, but let's just focus on these three areas right here. Well, plus 0, right? So not really. Plus 19 in Los Altos, plus 9 in Mountain View. In terms of pendings, that's not that much, especially when you look at Los Altos and Los Altos Hills compared to the active listings, right? Plus 55% at Los Altos. And then only 19% of that's being absorbed. I mean, that's not that great, right? And so it's it would be almost identical to if this were 0, right? And then we were negative here, 33% or so. I mean, it really is that much of a difference. And Mountain View, of course, is actually performing quite normal right now, right? There's a pretty good stasis going on, a nice equilibrium that we've reached here in Mountain View. But and now, of course, in Palo Alto, yeah, I mean, things could be better there. But again, you know, I don't want to be a fearmonger and say, oh my goodness, this is for sure the kind of stuff that we're going to see in Santa Clara County maybe later this year, starting beginning of 2020. But if we're in the middle of November or late November and the heat maps have looked like this consistently for 4 weeks, that is a sort of trend that we should like begin to pay attention to. Wouldn't give it like too much thought right now. I wouldn't be super concerned, but I would begin to pay attention to this, and then come a few weeks, if I continue to see this as a trend, we'll be sure to talk about it some more. Now, wrapping up here for my South County folks, I got to give my South County folks some love. Gilroy, Morgan Hill, San Martin. I've had some requests. So now look, by the way, before we get into the heat maps here, this is a very good time to be a home seller in South County. The numbers that you're about to see, I have not seen in South County for quite some time. So the market has turned there. It has shifted back into seemingly sellers' favors just based off the last couple of weeks here of data. But when you look at what the South County numbers are right now, this should be very good news to you if you're a home seller in either Morgan Hill, San Martin, or Gilroy. Check it out, everyone. Active listings here. Plus 37% in Morgan Hill. Okay, well, Morgan Hill, yes, there's more inventory. San Martin, negative 27%. Gilroy, negative 11%. Now, in terms of pendings, a lot of that additional inventory, not all of it, but a lot of it's being absorbed in Morgan Hill. Positive 27% in Gilroy. San Martin's neutral, but you know, let's look at this right now for a second, because honestly, with way less demand way less inventory and similar demand in San Martin, excellent time to be a home seller. In Gilroy, you have less inventory and a good amount more demand in Gilroy. Morgan Hill, the only area here where it's, you know, not clearly in seller's favor. However, you know, positive 37%. And positive 26%, nothing to snooze at, right? I mean, a lot of the additional inventory is being absorbed, and we've seen some really positive numbers, not just this week, but over the last couple, last several weeks in South County. And so, definitely would say that if you're making a selling decision, or you're considering making a selling decision in either Morgan Hill, Gilroy, or San Martin, make it in the next 15 days. Commit and make that a thing for you. Otherwise, you know, we do see a taper off in a lot of the exterior parts of the county, including those areas come November, December. I'm not saying that's not a definitive, all-encompassing analysis. Obviously, there's anomalies, right? There's exceptions to the rule, but overall, I would say make that decision before the end of October. Commit over the next, honestly, like probably next week or two, and commit. That's the word. That's really the word for today. Is let these numbers allow you to make a commitment. Take this data, internalize it, make a decision, and commit. This is Danny Gould with the Gould team. We're selling Silicon Valley, and we will catch all of you in the next video.